So how long did you continue dancing, even if it was after the competitive circuit? How long do you still dance to this day?
I do, but there's another part of the story there, and
Okay.
I think it's important to include everything because it's amazing how things can really come around full circle. Because I think, I've listened to some people, especially on your podcast, and it's like they went from here to here to here and they got
Mhm.
there. And my story doesn't quite go like that. I was not very connected to the girls I danced with.
Okay.
They were great. I don't know, but I was just kind of a shy teenager. And so I got really discouraged towards the end because I would always I would come to the studio and I'd go to the bar or I'd get ready for class and these girls would just be running all around me. They're in high school and they're squealing and I don't know, I just wasn't very connected with them. They all went to school together and I didn't go to their school. I went to another school. So that could have been something. I couldn't quite figure out like,
Mhm.
why can't I couldn't quite, I was just there to dance and I just got discouraged because I didn't quite connect with them in the way where I felt at home.
Mhm.
So I would go to the studio and I'd always be a little bit uncomfortable. Like I just wanted to dance. And when we weren't dancing, I had a hard time. I felt kind of disconnected. Like all the girls would be chit chatting about school. So anyway, towards the end of my senior year, I decided, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to stay with this during the summer. I'm going to college. I'm gonna step back. I'm not going to nationals in the summer. I just decided not to be part of that studio anymore. But then I felt like, oh no, I've had this break. How am I gonna make it in college? I don't know. I was just like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna make the auditions? Do I really want to go to college and like be on the dance team? Do I want to be a cheerleader? I think that there wasn't a lot of exposure at the time. At least I didn't get very exposed to what all the dance opportunities were. I had an idea that maybe there was more out there than just moving to New York or moving to LA. Because I really did want to become a dancer, but I thought I was kind of shy and I was like, how am I going to do that? New York and LA, those places are going to eat me alive. And I could barely make it, in the studio with these, girls. Like, I don't know. I was a teenager. My
Mhm.
confidence wasn't as high back then. And I
Mhm.
just decided, I think I'm going to focus on another creative career, one that might be more lucrative. And I quit for a while. I just lived like the regular college life, and it's interesting looking back because I remember not being able to watch dancers at that time. Like I had a hard time watching anyone on stage or
Mhm.
any of those shows like So You Think You Could Dance or Dancing with the Stars. If those came on, I'd watch them and I'd get glued in and then I would feel sad.
Yeah.
And and so fast forward, I went through college not dancing, and
Oh,
some people would ask me about it and they'd be like, is that weird for you? I was like, yeah, but I'm focusing on my career. I majored in fashion because I
okay.
figured it was like, oh, this is creative and it's businessy, so I can still be creative in a new way and get a
Mhm.
career and make, find some way to make good money in this industry. Which then I made it to the end of college, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to travel.
Okay.
So I did my last semester in Australia,
Okay.
and then I went to Taiwan and got a job as an English teacher. So this is when they gave me this apartment and it was open. It was this big open apartment with a tile floor. And I was by myself. And I just remember, I don't know, I just got to Taiwan and I started dancing. And I was like, wow, this is still in me. This is still a part of me. And so I continued doing it, and I started retraining myself. I would come home. Luckily, I had good training because I was able to use that and apply it then. And I started just dancing all the time again. And it was just, I just did it. Then I moved into another house a year later with some friends, and they agreed I could have a little space. So I continued dancing there, and it was right in front of the window. So I would dance at night so that I could see my reflection.
Yes.
And sometimes people would walk by, and I was like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm dancing.
Yes.
And then pretty soon I started getting some jobs. And so there were some performance companies in LA, not LA, Taipei. And I had a friend up there who got me hooked up with some people who ran these companies. And so I would perform up there, and then it just felt like, oh, I'm getting paid for this thing that I've always loved so much that I thought I gave up, and now it's back. And I did some gigs up there, and I never stopped dancing after that. It became,
Got it.
yeah, I was like, I'm never going to stop doing this again.
That is so interesting. And yeah, sometimes like until it's not a part of your life, right? You don't know how much you appreciate it or what you're missing, right? Until you have that little hiatus. And then when it comes back, it sounds like you really enjoy it again. You found that passion and you appreciate it so much. There was a lot of things that you just shared that I learned a ton. So let's unpack some of that a little bit. But yeah, it's so interesting to hear your journey and how it has kind of come full circle. Now, thinking back, the first question that I have is, when you were growing up and dancing all the way through high school, were there any injuries? How was your body tolerating all of this? And what was that like for you?
Oh yes, I forgot to. Yeah, you asked me earlier about injuries. That was actually a piece, because I never had any major injuries, but there was one. It was near my junior year that I was doing this big leap, and I landed wrong on my ankle, and I rolled my ankle really bad. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't, I should sit out. But this part of me was like, no, I should keep dancing. So I kept dancing.
Got it.
And then I injured it even worse. And by the time I came home, it was this big ball.
Yes.
And so I went to the doctor, and it was a sprain. Thankfully, it was just a sprain. But he told me, you should take 6 weeks off, because if you don't, then you're going to roll it again, and it's going to continue getting hurt. So why don't you just take 6 weeks off? And at the time, I mean, I couldn't stand on my toes. I could walk fine, but when it came to being on my toes, I couldn't. So I was like, well, I just want to heal this completely. So I told my teachers I was going to sit out for 6 weeks, and that didn't go well with them. They were like, well, so-and-so rolls her ankle all the time. And she sprained her ankle. It was kind of like, this isn't sitting well. So that was part of it, was it kind of separated me a little bit from the team. And so that was kind of one of the little piece that was in there, but I haven't injured it again. So
Yes. Well, that is really good. And, some of those things, like, that's part of the injury and recovery process, unfortunately, is kind of that social aspect or the team aspect, or even other things that, how it's perceived, right, by coaches and teammates or players or other dance, members. So that's something that, yeah, it did probably have some type of influence in, your passion and wanting to continue or not continue dance moving forward.